In this video, I'm going to talk about creating killer screenshots for your app. Now, just like the app icon, screenshots are really focused towards human interest as well. They don't really have anything to do with app ranking in your app listing or in the app store. So the goal of your screenshots should be appealing to people who see it, to entice them to download your app and to use it. And so that should be the primary goal for all the screenshots that you make. So once the user sees your app icon, they read your title, the next thing they do is they'll tap on it or click on it to see more. And generally, the first thing that they see once they click on your app listing is they're going to see your screenshots. And of all those screenshots, the first screen is the most important because it is the one that is most seen. It is the first image that they see, and it may be the only image they see. Because if they decide not to scroll through to your other screenshots, that first screen will be what will give them the impression. Only if they want to see other screenshots will they slide through them. So make sure that out of all your screenshots, the first one is the one that you want most people to see the most, because that's what they'll see by default. So focus on screenshots that showcase the best features. You may have, a dozen different screenshots that you want to show somebody, but you are limited to a finite number of screenshots. So you have to pick and choose which ones are the best. And so you want to really highlight the best features of your app, things that look the most appealing and are best represented by some kind of visual image in the form of a screenshot. You may also want to avoid certain screenshots, and specifically I would avoid showing screenshots that might be showing ads or in-app purchases or other things like anything that you think might be kind of negative. For example, maybe if you're producing a game, maybe a game over screen may not be as ideal as sort of your character running through some challenge. So that might be something you may or may not want to avoid. I mean, that's up to you. But definitely things like, seeing ads or in-app purchases, if you can avoid that, I would, just because it may be a turnoff for some people to see an in-app purchase and they may go elsewhere and find another app instead of yours. So avoid those types of screenshots and then focus more on the features and benefits of your app. So a couple of recommendations and tips for creating killer screenshots. I would make use of all screenshot spaces for each device type. And so for iOS, you're given 5 screenshot spaces for each device type. And the devices would be the iPhone 4 screen, the iPhone 5 screen, and an iPad screen. And soon to be an iPhone 6 size screen. So you're going to have each device type can contain 5 different screenshots, and I would make use of all of them. So you want to choose the 5 best screenshots and resize them for each device type. And for Google Play, you're allowed 8 screenshots per device type. And the sizing it varies a little bit. So there's some guidelines which I can show you right now. So just on this webpage here, it does talk about you have 8 screenshots for each supported device platform. So each platform, there's a phone, a 7-inch tablet, and a 10-inch tablet. So there's 3 different device platforms. And you need to submit at least a minimum of 2 screenshots, whereas in iOS you can submit a minimum of 1. And it has to be JPEG or PNG format. And the minimum size for Android is 320 pixels. The maximum dimension is 3,840 pixels. For iOS, it's I believe it's like 640. No, that's not right. 480 by 320 is the minimum size. And then for the Retina size iPad, it's 2048 by 1536. So anyways, those are kind of the general sizes you want to be falling under. Another tip is you can screen capture directly on the device that you have. So to capture a screenshot of your app, I would load it onto your device, whether it's iOS or Android. And when you're on the screen that you want to capture, for iOS, you would hold down the home button and the power button. The home button's the one in the front, and the power button is the one on the top. And you press them both together at the same time, and it will screen capture whatever's currently on that screen, and it'll store it into your photo album. And Android is very similar. The 2-button combination is to hold down the volume down button and the power button at the same time. And you want to actually hold those down for like 1 or 2 seconds, and then it'll take a screenshot of whatever's on the screen at that time, and again store it into your photo album for you to email out or send to somebody. I just send it out as an email, and then once it gets to my computer, I would either edit them or submit them directly to the appropriate app stores. Lastly, I just would consider adding text or continuous image design to your screenshots. And I'll show you an example shortly of how this looks like. But instead of just showing a basic screenshot of your app and the different screens that are available, it may be helpful to add some descriptive text to your screenshots for people to see, because it may help illustrate the process or a walkthrough of what they're getting if they were to download your app. And that would help increase downloads, just because people have a better understanding of what your app does. So I'll show you an example of that right now. So I'm just in iTunes right now, and if I was to click on, I'm in top paid iPhone apps. If I was just to click on a couple of random apps here, I'll try to find an example of one. Well, let's go to Instagram. No, not a good example. Facebook Messenger. Well, this is a very simple version, but Facebook Messenger has the screenshot there, and above it, it's kind of small, but it does have some descriptive text on each screenshot that you can read, and they've actually added some images here too. So that's an example of adding some descriptive text. Even if I went to Google Maps, again, there's some descriptive text above each screenshot, just helping describe what each screenshot is about. Let's do a game. So Clash of Clans, we've seen this before, but the first screenshot is kind of their money screenshot, I guess, where most people would see this. But as people scroll through and see each screenshot, there is a bit of a title or descriptive text above each screen for people to look at, and it helps illustrate what each screenshot is showing when someone is to look at it. So same with Candy Crush, they do it a little differently, but there's some banners that are on each screen, just sort of, again, illustrating what each screen is about. Now, I couldn't find an example of a continuous screen design, but I'll describe it here, and hopefully it'll make sense to you. But if you can imagine, all of these screenshots are displayed side by side, and that's the way it is currently. And so I've seen some people actually make use of all 5 screenshots to become one large canvas. And so they've made a very detailed design as one long canvas. And when someone sees it, it ends up being one big picture of 5 screenshots side by side, even though they're 5 individual screenshots. They've just sort of tiled them together. It makes it look like it's a tiled image, and they've made it into one continuous entire image. Now, maybe the reason why I haven't seen very many of these, or I couldn't find an example of that, is because we don't know if the App Store screen format will change, and especially on devices when people are scrolling through it. Currently, it's scrolling left to right, but maybe in the future, and I believe actually in iOS 8 in the App Store, it's actually scrolling up and down. So that may be something to avoid, but I have seen it, and it does look kind of neat. Whether it actually increases downloads or not, I don't know. But it is something that I have seen people do, and it is something to consider. But at the very least, consider, instead of just a plain screenshot, consider adding some descriptive text to your images, just because that could help illustrate what you're going after. All right, so lastly, just like an app icon, if you don't have the technical skills to capture screenshots, or if you don't if you really want to add descriptive text to your screenshots, but you don't know how to, or you don't feel comfortable with it, you can go to Fiverr. And so Fiverr, again, is the site that I was recommending for possibly creating some app icons. But I'm just going to type in screenshot in this browser window here and see what comes up. Again, this popped up where it does say you need to register for a Fiverr account. It is free, and so it is worthwhile to sign up for one. So, I can see some things here. I will mock up or pimp 2 screenshots for iOS, Android apps. And actually, this might have some examples of a continuous layout. Possibly. Maybe not. But anyways, I'll create a separate video on using Fiverr more in depth. But for now, it is something where you could look through it and see what kind of screenshots are available, or some designers that are willing to help you with your screenshots. And take a look there. It could be a good resource for creating screenshots if you're not comfortable doing it on your own.